I love it. Hello.
Hey.
Hey, people.
Getting ready, getting set up here to go live. This is our 4th coaching session.
4th, right?
Yeah, and
Time.
I think we're getting better at them too. I hope so, at least. Yeah, so let us know where you're tuning in from.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Say hello. Maybe switch your phone.
Yeah, turn your phone sideways. We got requests to do it horizontal, and that seems to work best for people. So this is how we're doing it. But if you've got feedback, let me know. Send me a direct message. Write something in the comments. We're super open to feedback. My whole motivation behind this is to just give back to all the windsurfers out there stuck at home. And so this is guided by what you guys want. So let me know. If you want something different, tell me. If you like what we're doing, tell me. And that feedback will really help shape the future of these live series. Yeah. Hey, from Estonia. Cool. I'm getting some representation. How's the situation in Estonia? Are you still able to go on the water? I know that that's an issue right now of contention around the world. Here on Maui, the beaches are closed, but we're still allowed to go in the ocean, and they encourage solo outdoor activities like windsurfing or surfing. So as long as you're not too close to other people, and as long as you're not using the beach parks, you can go in the water. So we'll see if that continues. I think if there are too many people on the beaches, that's not going to be happening. Hi from Turkey. Oh, that's a bummer. Sounds like windsurfing was just banned yesterday. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully we all get over this soon and get back in the water. Moin, moin.
Moin.
Greece represented. France.
That's on.
Wow, we've got good representation from all over the world. Welcome, guys.
Simmer says is joining. Hello.
Israel. Yeah, nice. Okay, so you're still sailing in Holland, it sounds like. That sounds cool. It's still windy, getting good conditions. Been firing.
Yeah. Just if you wonder why I could look down, because here the other mobile phone where we're reading the comments. So.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out the best way to do this. So we've got the comments coming in down here, so I'm reading them to respond to you guys up there.
So we have a high professional studio here with the TV in the back, the laptop here.
Pretty makeshift. Yeah, exactly.
Making the best out of the situation.
All right, no windsurfing in Argentina. Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, we really hope that the situation continues here. Like it's actually is like that we can access the beaches for. I mean, the ocean.
Yeah.
Access to the ocean to our activities. Yesterday there were how do you say a round message, how do you say it?
Yeah, there was a message that was sent around that there have been too many people on the beaches, and if that continues, then they'll close the ocean as well.
Yeah.
Which would be unfortunate for us. So hopefully people can respect the rules, and then we can keep going in the water.
I think for nearly 90% of the Hawaiians, it would be like the worst case scenario if they are really closing access to the ocean.
Yeah, we'll see.
But we'll see. Crossed, right? Also, windsurfing home office, right?
Yeah, this is the home office, exactly.
The office.
The office. Cool. Well, seems like we've got people here. Welcome, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Again, your feedback will shape these coaching sessions, so let me know what you like, what you don't like, and that will influence the future sessions. Today, I want to talk about looping. That's the most requested topic, actually. When I solicited feedback from people, that was the #1 thing that people wanted to learn, both front and back loops, which surprised me, actually, because there's a lot of good content. There's a lot of good content about looping online. And there has been over the last 20 years or something. So I was talking with Paul, who is a looper, If you're a looper, write in the comments. I want to see all the loopers.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, who's
Yeah,
a
do
looper?
you
Who wants
loop?
to-
Are you a looper?
Are you
So
a looper?
tell me if you're a looper. So Paul, who is a looper, and I were talking about it, and what he was saying is that there's a lot of instruction, but it doesn't necessarily break down the moves. You don't have the building blocks. So you don't have the steps that you can put into practice. So even though there's a lot of good material, there's a bit of a lack. And so that then really helped me to figure out, okay, how do I shape this lesson, or how do I shape what I say? And so that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try and break these moves down and come up with a few small tips that should be easy to implement and easy to practice. So rather than giving you a big overview like everything else that's available online, we're going to try to go over just some tips and some exercises and some advice that can help. Hello, Brazil.
I'm also curious about what was a breakthrough from the people, like you ask in your story, which is, I think, super interesting for most of us.
So if you're a looper, what was the breakthrough? What helped you? And so I asked this in my stories, and we've already got some great responses, which I'll share later today. But write it in the comments as well. A few that I remember were using earplugs to help with the fear. Because I think with the forward loop, there's a lot of fear. So forwards are pretty easy. They're just scary. It's not a difficult move, it's a scary move. And back loops are incredibly difficult, incredibly technical, but not as scary. So you see a lot of people trying back loops before forwards, but actually forwards are really easy. It's just a matter of getting over the fear. And so one suggestion is to wear earplugs. And I would add a helmet onto that as well. It might help to wear a helmet. Gives you a sense of protection.
Yeah, I remember when I have learned back in the days, like it was maybe 10 or 12 years so far. It was on Fuerteventura on the Canary Island when I learned my back loop. Like my friend, the front loop. My friend Lucas stands on the beach, and we did all like rebuilding the brakes, like staying just on the beach with the sail and like getting a feeling of how the sail rotates and how the body has to go with this around. And then we went into the water just in super light wind, and then we trained the rotation, like kind of the dry training, however you say. And I mean, I would really also add to the helmet like an impact vest, or at least a wetsuit.
Yeah, that's a good point, because in the beginning you get a lot of slaps.
Exactly.
So it's not going to injure you at all, but it can hurt when you slap the water.
Yeah.
You're landing pretty flat sometimes on your back on the surface tension, and having a wetsuit on or an impact vest can just totally make that disappear.
Yeah, exactly. So, and because one thing I promise is and probably you can agree on this, is when you done your first loop, I promise you're getting addicted to it, because you go again and again and again for the front loop, and then you get more slaps on your back, and then it hurts. Because I remember on that day that when I went out of the beach, when I went back to the car to de-rig all my material, I was leaning back on my car and just to watch the water, and it hurt so bad on my back on this day. So I wish I had impact vest back in the days, but I didn't. But I'm still alive, so it's not that hard. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a good tip. I see Chile is tuning in. Yes, I would love to go to Chile. When all this is over, we'll do a trip there, hopefully. You want to read me? It seems like we've got some more comments coming. You want to read some of them to me?
Yes, yeah. Breakthrough on the fear was the helmet from Pico,
Yeah, helmet can really help. Like I said, the forward loop is mainly about getting over the fear.
Yeah.
Another thing that really helped me, so when I was learning, I would always let go with my backhand. And if you've tried loops before, you know that if you let go with your backhand, that just stops the rotation. And you end up flying on your back or flying off the gear completely. And no matter how hard I tried and I really wanted to commit, I would always let go with my backhand. And I was a kid and I was doing these at Kanaha on Maui, and I would just go flying and land on the sail.
How old are you?
I don't know, maybe I was 12 or something. But
so you made your first loop with the age of 12?
maybe younger. I don't know. But
Probably younger.
But what helped
one-handed.
me,
You started with one-handed.
what helped me the most, I think it was a tip from Riley Kuhn, who is a former pro Maui guy. And he said, all right, go stand on your board when it's a bit lighter wind on the inside, out of the straps, jump, like so just jumping with your feet, and do the rotation and flop in the water on the other side of the board. And just do that 100 times. And so that's what I did. And so I stood on the board, standing is with a little bit of wind, so you've got some pressure in the sail, but not on a super windy day. And just do a little jump.
Don't be fast.
Yeah, you push the front hand forward, shoot in with the backhand, look back over your shoulder, which everyone knows. Everyone who's trying loops kind of knows that, wide grip, front hand forward, sheet in, look over your back shoulder. But if you do that just standing on the board and you'll flop in the water on the other side, it's totally painless. And that gets you comfortable with the motion and it gets your brain over the fear. And you can do that, 100 times. Do it, spend a whole day doing it.
Yeah.
Just these catapults into the water. And then when you try it for real, you're so used to holding on and doing the first part of that rotation that you won't let go and you'll stay committed, which is 90% of doing the move.
I think that is so helpful. And you can do it everywhere, right? Like you can do it on a lake.
You can do it on flat water. So
exactly. You don't need a windy day.
In fact, I think you don't even want big waves. I think when you're learning forwards, it's best to do them off of chop. Because if you go too high, again, it's more scary, and so you're adding another layer of fear onto the rotation, which makes it harder to commit. So I think you can do it off of chop. Another trick is you want to go really downwind. You can go way more downwind than you think you can. And that does a few things. One is you're completing more of the rotation. So if you're going, here instead of here, you've got this much less to rotate, which is just easier then, right? So that can really help a lot, is going really downwind. You're almost going straight downwind as you're launching for the forward. And then if you've done that practice, and so you're used to doing the rotation because you've been jumping off the board, falling into the water, then it's just a matter of going really downwind, hitting that piece of chop, wide grip, push the front arm forward, sheet in, and you'll just rotate. It helps to tuck in your legs, to kind of keep your legs up, because then you'll rotate faster rather than having extended legs. But it's also not necessary. So yes, it helps, but you don't have to focus on that. Focus on sheeting in, looking back, and then if you're going downwind, you hit a chop, you'll do it. You'll do a loop. Make sure your feet are solid in the foot straps. If you've got your foot straps too tight and you can't get your foot in, then that'll be a problem. You want to make sure that your feet are really in the straps and you're comfortable on your board and that your board will stay on your feet. I think that's important. But otherwise, it's really easy. Just get over the fear through an exercise like jumping off the board and doing the rotation into the water. And then go downwind, really downwind, more downwind than you think. Don't go too high, and do the rotation, just sheeting in. Another tip that I think is useful is that a forward loop is not a somersault. So you're not throwing your body into the rotation. if anything, you're actually pulling against the rotation. So the sail wants to rotate. The sail will rotate. You just have to sheet in, and the sail does the work for you. But if you're somersaulting, so you're throwing your body like you would in a forward flip or a forward somersault, you're actually stopping the rotation, because that momentum is going into the sail, which then means you can't sheet in as hard on the sail. So in fact, what you want to be doing is pulling away from the sail. So your body is twisting so that you can sheet in as hard as you can, not twisting into the rotation. So it's actually the opposite force. So you're really kind of leaning back. And so again, it's not a somersault. You're pulling on the sail, and that is what's doing the rotation.
So,
yep, we've got a long question.
yeah.
What's
so
that?
like, first of all, like, hey to Barcelona, hey to Lebanon, Danny, Fuerteventura, hello Holland, Canary Islands again, so nice. So Surfboom was asking kind of, I couldn't write all that I wanted under the question. Not the thing is, at the beginning, when you don't move your head and you stop rotation, you hit with the side of your face, and it's like a slap to the ear. So I think the question is how to avoid
slapping
yeah
on the ear.
right. Just to conclude, there's another question. It's also like hitting with an ear makes it feel way more serious than it actually is. Earplug helps to overcome the effect.
Yeah, earplugs or a helmet can really help with that.
Right. And there's also a good question from Hayo Paiko, because I see also a lot of people doing this, especially some friends of me. How to avoid rotating over the top, like, and I have like old school killer loops. So
Yeah, so there's a few. So I think those questions are actually similar. So when you are landing on your ear, or when you're doing more of a vertical rotation, killer loop rotation, you're doing some of the same mistakes. So one of them is going too far upwind. So if you're rotating too far vertical, go more downwind. You can take off so far downwind for a forward. It's incredible. I mean, just go too far downwind. Go so far on such a downwind reach that you think that you won't be able to rotate, and you'll surprise yourself, and you will. And having that angle helps to create a more horizontal rotation, because the way that your body position is and the way the dynamics of the rig work, that will help make it more horizontal. The other thing is a wide grip. So if you're grabbing, I'm grabbing all the way back to the clips on my boom. And so that's like the whole grip. I'm going back as far as I can on the boom. And that really helps make a horizontal rotation. If you keep your hands together, that will push you into a more endo rotation, which then is also pushing your head into the water if you're under rotating. Yeah. Whereas if you under rotate when you're doing a horizontal rotation, you're landing on your back, you're never landing on your face or your head. So wide grip, really wide grip, go wider than you think you can go.
If you think you have a wide grip, grip wide.
Grip wider. Go to the end of the boom. Yeah. Touch your clips.
Yeah. That's a challenge.
Yeah, touch your clips. Here, I've got some video that I dug up. And so you can kind of see here, like I'm grabbing onto the clips of the boom as I'm rotating. So looking back, grabbing onto the clips of the boom.
Yeah, also like if you go back.
And then it's just a really easy horizontal rotation.
Right. You're also moving hands in the air. And you have like having your chin like really like kind of touching your shoulder. It's like.
Yeah, so you want to, when you're looking back, you want to look over your shoulder. So you don't want to be looking down, you don't want to be looking under your shoulder, you want to look over your shoulder. And that also helps keep the rotation horizontal. But the main things for a horizontal rotation, go downwind, wide grip, grab the clips. All right, we're getting some more questions. Why was I wearing a helmet some years ago and I don't anymore? Okay. I liked wearing a helmet, and wearing a helmet really made me feel comfortable and confident. I had a crash where I hit my face in the boom and I knocked out a tooth and did some damage to my face. And for some reason after that crash, I was
practicing a front loop.
No, it was on a wave ride on a beach break, kind of a heavy beach break in Oregon, and I wasn't as motivated to wear a helmet after that because I don't know, I felt like I wasn't getting, for the really radical moves, I wasn't getting the protection that I needed. That might kind of sound counterintuitive, but basically I felt like if I was really pushing on some of these moves, the helmet wasn't really helping me, and so then I would wear it sometimes and not other times, and then eventually I just stopped wearing it. But I recommend wearing a helmet. It can help you feel more comfortable and confident, and that will improve your sailing.
Which movie is it where you surfing like most of the times with a helmet?
I always wore a helmet. I wore a helmet until 2012.
No, but is it the Maui Sun like?
Everything. I mean everything. I'm wearing a helmet. I always wear a helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gold one.
I had lots of different helmets. I was sponsored by Gaff, and so they sent me a bunch of helmets, and they gave me some custom painted ones. And yeah, I recommend wearing a helmet especially for learning new moves, whether it's loops or something else. It can really help with the fear factor. And with windsurfing, fear and commitment is, I think, one of the biggest issues that people have. If you're not committed, you're not going to make it, or you're not going to rotate. It's so much about just staying committed. Other people were asking about how to do stalled rotation. So this is a different part of the topic. So this is for people who can already do forward loops, right? If you can't do loops yet, this is not for you. If you can't do loops yet, you need to focus on doing the exercise where you're jumping off your board, getting pitched. Maybe we'll do a video about this because I think this is really important. Then go downwind, wide grip, and again, go downwind, go downwind. I can't say that enough. You want to go more downwind than you think you can. Hit a chop, sheet in, look over your shoulder. Okay, so that's if you're learning the loops. And ask me questions. If you're trying that and it's not working, ask me questions and I'll provide direct feedback, and it will help me shape also other content for everyone else.
Yeah.
But if
also tag in the clips.
Yeah, tag me in your clips. So tag me in your clips and I can give feedback and we can discuss it in these coaching sessions. So if you want to do stalled forwards. Now this is a different world. So there are two things that are really important for stalled forwards. One is cocking the mast over. And so as you're in the air, you're pushing the mast sort of like down and kind of upwind. So it's like you're almost like you're making the sail, trying to make the sail horizontal. So it's like parallel to the mast, is parallel with the water. And when you're in this position, I don't know if you guys can see this, but so you jump like this, and then you're cocking the sail like this, but still sheeting out, you're not sheeting in. It gives you a lot of control over the rig. And it's kind of like, it sets you up so that when you sheet in, then you rotate quickly and horizontally, and you have a lot of control over that moment. So that is a really important feeling. And you can do this even on small forwards. And so if you want to work up to stalled forwards, what I recommend doing is you get a little bit more height, and instead of rotating right off the water, you're cocking the sail a little bit like I'm talking about, and then rotating. And you'll start to feel that kind of nice stalled moment and the control to go into the rotation. Now the next tip, and this is the most important tip for doing big stall forwards,
Listen.
is you go upwind. So you want to launch for a stall forward like on a back loop. And so this is very different than when you're learning the forwards. So it can take a lot of practice and a lot of mental work to get over that difference, because suddenly now you're doing the takeoff completely opposite, right? And for people learning the forwards, I've been saying go as downwind as you can. But now if you want to get a lot of height, you actually want to take off like a back loop, and you want to find steep waves to do it. So it's a very similar takeoff and a very similar feeling to doing a back loop. And not only does that give you the height, but also if you're taking off more downwind and getting height like that, you have a lot of power in the sail. So by taking off into the wind, it's sort of making the sail a bit more neutral, and when you're going through the rotation as well, you've got less power on the sail, and it allows you to control it more. Whereas if you're taking off on a broad reach and you're getting a lot of height like that, you're gonna have a lot of power on the sail, and when you're doing the rotation as well, the board will want to come out where it went into the rotation, which is too far downwind, and your sail's full of power. Whereas if you're upwind and the board finishes in that same position, you're in a nice position to control the landing and control the rig where it's not full of wind.
Right.
So that is definitely a more advanced move, the stalled forward. Yeah. And if you've got more specific questions, direct message me. I don't want to spend too much time about that, because I think that for most people it's learning the forward that's important, but I am happy to help everyone with stalled forwards. So ask me questions, send me your videos. If we get a jumping day on Maui, which the forecast does not look like it, but if we do, then we can film some instruction as well for stalled forwards. So again, just to recap that, it's about learning how to position the rig in the air with like this. So you're getting, it's like you're pushing your front hand kind of forward and down, a little bit downwind, and that kind of steers the rig downwind. And it's a really nice position to be in. You have so much control over the rig, and you kind of like fly like that. It feels really nice, and you don't have to go very high to get those benefits. You can do that off of little forwards, just to get that feeling of cocking the rig. And then once you want to start going high, take off like a back loop.
What is your recommendation or suggestion for people who are already loopers and now they want to level up a little bit and go for the stall for? What should they learn first, or what should they practice first? What would you recommend?
So you mean like what? So
like jumping really high upwind, searching for the steepest waves, or like
I think you
just the board.
I think you can do kind of everything at the same time, but broken up. Like, so you can go out and do 10 forwards where you're cocking the rig over, and then you can go do 10 jumps where you're really trying to find a steep wave, and then practice going up, keeping your hands close together. That's another good tip, is like when you're doing the stall forwards, you start with your hands close together, and then you grip back in the air. You don't want to start with the wide grip. But so you can practice just going straight up and then leveling off.
Exactly, yeah.
And landing like that. So you come up, kind of come over the gear, and that's kind of a feeling like you're kind of like sucking up your body, and then that allows you to bring the board level again. So you've come up and you bring the board level.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good practice.
I would also recommend to watch videos from other, like watching some proso stuff, because I think there's a lot of stall forward material.
Yeah, watching videos is always good. I think like watching, it's doing a lot in your brain. There was one year, I remember I was 16 and I broke my leg doing an air talk up, and so I was out of the water for 2 months. But I went down to the beach every single day and filmed and watched. Mussolini was staying with me that year, and I was filming him the whole time, and that I was obviously really frustrating not being able to get in the water because I had a broken leg. But by being there every day, by watching, by filming, a lot of processing was going on in my brain. And when I came back from that injury, my level was a bit higher than it was before the injury, which was really surprising and interesting.
Okay, let's go to come to or yeah, do you want to finish something? Because otherwise we have some
You check the questions, and I'm gonna say a few more things.
Just one very important thing is from Roberto C90 is where sent the video.
Okay, so tag me, tag at Graham Ezzy.
Yeah. So if your video is on Instagram, tag at Graham Ezzy, and then he will find it. If it's not uploaded on Instagram and maybe it's on Vimeo or
me, and then I'll be able to see the video. All right, so let's move on to back loops. So back loops are also. Is it working?
It's working. Just one more question. Like.
Yep, we've got another question.
Okay, the first one is another question is you are not present a lot on the IWT competition. How are you planning your year in terms of competitions linked to your Taboo contract? It's coming from Bertrand.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Bertrand. So I don't do the IWT, I'm focused on the PWA, which is the highest level of wave sailing. That's the world sailing recognized tour for getting world titles. It's like, for example, Taboo also doesn't recognize the IWT tour, which is nothing against the tour. It's like a lot of great guys, great spots, fun sailing. But in terms of the level of professionalism, the PWA is the ultimate windsurfing tour, and that comes down to judging, prize money, media, everything else. So that's why I'm focused on the PWA. Even though some of the spots are much more difficult for me, I think I much prefer some of the other spots. But again, PWA is the highest level of competition in windsurfing, and who knows what happens this year. So we'll see. Maybe some events will happen. It just depends what happens with the Corona situation.
One last question, maybe, which is maybe really interesting and really helpful for most of the ongoing loopers, is the best way not to over-rotate.
Okay, so
on the front loop.
If you don't want to rotate on the front loop, I think going downwind on the takeoff can help with that, because you have more. So it depends on the kind of rotation, but for the loops that most people are doing, the more downwind you go, the easier time you'll have through the rotation, and the more control you'll have as well. And so if you've got that really wide grip, you're going downwind, you're rotating horizontally, and you have a lot of control. And so that you can feel the moment when you've completed the loop, or you've almost completed the loop, and then all you need to do is sheet out, and the rotation will stop. So I think if you guys can see the video behind me, we can watch an example of that. So here, I'm taking off, very downwind, doing the rotation again. Front arm extended, back arm sheeted in hard, wide grip, head looking over the shoulder, tuck up the legs, and then at this moment, I've finished the rotation. So I just sheet out a little bit. You can see I've slid my hand all the way forward to the harness lines, which is helping to sheet out. And you get just a really nice, soft landing. A lot of times, over rotations come from taking off a bit too upwind, or not necessarily like upwind, but in like too much on a broad reach, which then you get a lot of load in the sail, and the sail has all this force and power that is causing the rig to rotate too much and uncontrollably. But if you have control, then it's really easy not to over rotate. And so you want to get that by wide grip, looking back, taking off downwind, and that will help. You know, if you're talking about with stalled forwards, it's a little bit of different advice. If you want to be going maybe more into the wind, if you're really going high and doing a salt forward, and then really work on learning how to get the sail cocked over, because that gives you so much control in the rotation. You just kind of flip around and you come down under the sail and everything's light and easy. Whereas if you don't have the sail cocked and you sheet in and you come out of that rotation with a lot of power and it wants to start going into a second rotation.
Right. I would also like add or underline, looking back over your shoulder helps you to see where your landing is. So if you're rotating, so you intuitive, like open the sail a little bit when you see the landing. And I think most of the time when you over rotate, it's like because maybe the wind is too strong and you're overpowered, kind of. And I would also like super totally agree to like if it's horizontal or so I see a lot of I mean most of the time when I over rotate it's like because it was too vertical, for example.
Yeah, if you go vertical it's easy to over rotate, or even if you're not over rotating, you're landing on the board and it's really hard.
Exactly.
And so even if it's a perfect rotation, the landing is too hard because you've done the vertical rotation.
Yeah.
I see someone asking about 3 battens or 4 battens. For me, I think 4 battens are a good balance of everything. You've got maneuverability, you've got a light sail. I'm using the Ezzy Wave, which is a 4 batten sail, and it has a lot of power, but also a lot of maneuverability. I like it for jumping and for wave riding.
For the loops.
For loops, yeah. So that's what I recommend for myself.
Perfect sail for double loops.
It's good for, it works for doubles. But really, you can do this on any kind of sail.
Yeah.
That's the truth of it. You can do 3, 4, 5 batten sail. It doesn't matter. You can loop on anything.
That is a good question. Like, maybe the last one for the front loop and then go to the back loop. It's like when you say wide grip, is it only backhand, back, or also front hand forward?
So I do not move the front hand forward. In fact, the front hand can move back as well. Again, you want to be like sheeting in. It's like the forward loop is like you're getting pitched, right? Catapulted, basically, in the air in the foot straps. And so think of the ways that you get catapulted. So if anything, you want to move your front hand back, because then that allows you to pull more on the back of the sail to get that catapult motion. You don't want your front hand too far forward. So you definitely don't move it forward. And if you move it at all, move it back. And that can actually help as well. That's maybe a good tip, is you can move your front hand back a little bit as well to help with that. We've got a question from Danny about what sail size to learn on. So he's asking whether a 5.7 is too big to learn a front loop on. I would say that the 5.7 is the upper limit, so I think it's possible to learn on a 5.7, but I wouldn't go bigger. So 5.0 is maybe a great size. Again, it depends how heavy you are. But in general, the small sails rotate faster, and that's both good and bad. You want that fast rotation because then it gets you through the rotation. But it can be really difficult to learn a forward loop maybe on a 3.7 if it's so windy, because then you're rotating really quickly and then things are happening too fast. So I think a 5.7 is possible, but it's the upper limit. A little bit more wind will be easier, but those 5-7 days are perfect for doing the practice like we talked about, where you're standing on the board, you're doing the movement, not in the straps, you're just standing by the mast. You do this, the movement, the forward movement, it catapults you, flips you into the water on the other side of your board. Those conditions are perfect. And if you do that, get over the fear, then when you have a windier day, you'll be able to get a lot more progress done. One other tip, which is more of a mental thing, is work with a friend. So when you're trying to learn forwards, and maybe you've got a friend who's also trying to learn together. Or maybe you have a friend who can do them or can't do them, but wants to support you. Have them stand on the beach and watch you and say, look, I'm gonna do 10 attempts. And maybe they can film you. Just film you with their phone. Getting that footage, getting that feedback, and getting that pressure to do the move is really important. And yeah, like Paul said, if you want my feedback, tag me in it. But really, the point is you want someone else putting that pressure on you, and you feeling that urgency to commit. And then having the video feedback is just a bonus, and that can really help you learn. All right, now back loop. So the back loop is a very difficult move. So rotating it is not that hard, but landing it is very technical. We got some videos sent in that I'll go over quickly. I'm gonna focus today on starting back loops. We can do another day and maybe another video on sort of the finer points of back loops, but today is mainly about learning the move. So we've got this video, these photos from the North Sea. So kind of difficult conditions, taking off, coming around. We've got, so I think the number one thing with the back loops is you want to get your takeoff right. And if your takeoff is right, then the move just starts to come together. So you really want to look for a steep piece of water. So ideally that's a wave, but I recognize that for some people you're trying to learn in conditions with big chop, and so then it's a chop. You want a steep piece of water. So you don't want a rounded wave or a rounded chop, you want it steep, and that will send you straight up and into the rotation, which is what you want. So you're really looking for the steepest part of the wave, just before it starts to break. And if you're on the Baltic Sea or one of these other places where you've got these big swell chops, you're looking for the moment where you get that sort of like half pipe skate ramp look, where you get that kind of this shape that comes into the swell. And you might only get that for a second where the water's doing that, but that's the moment where you want to hit it, and that's what you're searching for when you're trying to learn the loop. And then the next part about the takeoff is go upwind. So you can really go a lot more upwind than you think you can. And I recommend when you're learning to go more upwind than you can, and that will show you what is too far. So go straight into the wind off the wave, and then you can come back from that point going less and less upwind till you find the perfect place. But I guarantee you that the amount of upwind that you need to be going is more than you think, and that just helps the rotation. It gets you into the right position, the right body position. It makes it easier to rotate in terms of what's going on with the sail. So you want to be finding the steepest part of the wave, steep chop, and really go upwind. Next, use your head. So this rotation is pretty good. He would do better off of a steeper wave. So this wave is a little bit sloped, and so he's not getting the projection and the projection into the rotation from the wave, which can really help. And then his legs are very straight, and so if you're bringing your legs in, it helps you to rotate a little bit faster, and it also helps so that you can salvage a landing a bit better. Because if your legs are bent, even if you're landing a little bit off, you can still make the move. Whereas if your legs are straight, you're kind of locked into one position, and so you don't have much like flexibility.
Just by the pictures, I would say if he would like bend more the knees or like staying more compact, I would say he would landing this one.
Yeah, this is very, very close. So I think
just to give him like having that extra like comfort stretch on the legs.
Yeah, so getting legs bent. The other thing which is huge, and this is the next big point, is use your head. You gotta look where you want to land. So you can see that he's looking more forward, like in front of the sail, rather than looking where he's going to land, and that is huge. So if we look at, here's some video. So you can see where his head's looking from the helmet. He's looking at the boom, looking at his front hand. When in fact, he wants to be looking where he's going to land, which is then more to the left for this video. And that is what really helps complete the last bit of the rotation. So these rotations look really good. The issue is that the head's not turned enough. We've got another video. This is an old video from Paul, actually. And so again, same thing. So look, Paul is coming down and he's looking at his hands. And so his head's got to turn a full 90 degrees more to be looking where he wants to be going, where he wants to be landing. And that will make the difference. So see, he's coming down here and he's looking, he's landing where he's looking. He's going exactly where he's looking, right? And so if his head was,
great example.
if his head was looking where he wanted to go,
Yeah.
then that last little bit of the back loop would rotate and he would land it.
Just a few degrees, right? Like,
Yeah, so same example, same thing here. So this is very good rotation, but again, look, he's looking at his front hand. And so his head is kind of straight like this, when in fact it needs to be full like 90 degrees over, looking where he wants to go and where he wants to land. So use your head.
there's also one-handed like attempt. I just want to see where I'm looking.
Yeah, so all right, let's find the one-handed one. So this guy as well, same issue. Look, this is a perfect back loop, but look, he's looking at his hands instead of where he wants to go. And then, so he's rotating, everything is perfect, except for where he's looking with his head, and that's what makes him crash. Because then, look, the sail and all the momentum is going where he's looking, which is not where the rotation needs to be. So then he stops rotating there and is facing in an under-rotated position. Whereas if he had his head turned where he wants to rotate to, then he would have rotated those few extra degrees and made the back loop. All right, Paul, where is this? Oh, here's a one-handed one.
Yeah,
So again, yes, you're looking at your front hand. So you gotta turn the head. So use the head. Your head is such an important tool for everything in windsurfing, but especially the back loops. So as you're going up, you're looking straight up, right? So the back loop is in three parts, right? You've got your takeoff, where you're just focusing on flying up. You've got the top of the jump, where you're turning your head and going through the wind, and then you've got the part where you're coming down again. And for all of those parts, the head is really important. So you want to be looking straight up, and then you're looking over your shoulder as you're coming down, and then you want to keep looking where you want to go. And so that means that your head is not like this. Your head is like this when you're rotating a back loop, if you want to land it. So really look where you want to go. So don't look where you're going, because then you'll under rotate, right? Because if you're already looking where you're traveling to, then that's not rotated enough. You want to look where you need to be going. And so use your head. And the feeling, and this is something that really helped me to crack the back loop, and I think it's helped other people that I've explained it to as well, is the body position you want to be in when you're coming down is the same as when you're going on a broad reach. So that's like when you're going off the wind, trying to go as fast as you can. So you've kind of got your front arm is straight, your back arm is sheeting in and controlling the sail, your front leg is straight, and your back leg is a little bit bent. And that gives you the control to steer the sail, and you want to come down on your nose, because that's how you get a soft landing, downwind. So you're coming in downwind, but it's that angle to the wind that you would be able to go really fast. Like that, if you're trying to go as fast as you can and you're going shooting like off the wind, like that's the angle you want. So not like straight downwind where then you've got nothing in the sail, because then that's kind of you'll under rotate. But that's the feeling. And so if you maybe just do some reaches, like sailing back and forth, trying to go as fast as you can on like a downwind angle, and see what your body's doing, see where you're pointing. So then that'll help your mind know, okay, this is the angle that I need to get to on my rotation, because that's where you want to be landing. And so that can help you figure out, okay, so if I'm going to be landing like this, that's how much I need to be rotating. And then maybe that helps your mind figure out the move. So again, going back to the fundamentals, steep wave. I cannot stress that enough. You don't want to take off on a wave that's like this. You want something that's like this. Go upwind, really go upwind off the ramp. And then use your head. You want to really look where you want to go. So you're not looking at your hands. Your head is not looking perpendicular to your shoulders. It's looking in line with your shoulders. Your head is turned, looking where you want to go. We've got a few more questions.
Yeah, it's about over-rotating. Like a couple of you guys asked about that. Yeah, how to avoid the over-rotation, like on the back.
So there are a few different things that can cause an over-rotation. And so this is a good example where sending me photos or video can really help, because I can give you more tailored feedback, because there are a few different things that can cause the over-rotation. But I'll give you some general tips. So I think sometimes if you're over-rotating, maybe you're going too far into the wind as you're taking off. So like I said, going really into the wind is great for learning, and it helps the rotation, sets you up to land it. But it can also make you rotate too much if you're really throwing the gear into the wind. And so then you can go a little bit less off the wind if your problem is over-rotating. If your problem is under-rotating, keep going up into the wind, go more into the wind. But if you're over-rotating, don't go so much into the wind. And then the next couple tips are, one is you're never throwing the rig. The back loop is not a rotation where you're forcing anything. You just go up and you're falling down on the other side. So there's no throw, there's no forcing the gear into the wind that causes then a fast rotation. It's really just a motion of going up and then falling over the other way. And you use your head and your body to help pivot at the top, at the apex of the jump, to come down on the other side. But again, there's no fast throw, there's no fast motion. And so you just really focus on getting that like calm up and over on the other one, falling on the other side. And then if you're thinking about sailing downwind, like we were talking about, that also helps you not to over-rotate. So if you're rotating too much, it can be because you're sheeting out as you're coming around, and that's pushing you kind of like into a push rotation, or some kind of like something in the middle. Whereas if you're sheeting in, if you think about the dynamics of the sail, that's then pulling you downwind again, right? That's the same like motion as the forward loop, right? So it's pulling you against the rotation of the back loop, which then stops your rotation. And so that's one of the reasons that I recommend feeling this like broad reach stance, because that helps both with under and over rotations. Because if you're under rotating, you want to be like sheeting in and pushing the front of the sail to get the rig around. But if you're over rotating, you also want to be sheeting in and pushing with the front hand to stop the rotation. And so it's almost like as you're coming around, you want to be, I mean, it's not pulling as hard as a forward or like a forward, but it's a similar dynamic where you're pushing with your front arm and sheeting in with your backhand, and that stops the rotation. So if you're over rotating, that's what you need to be doing, is sheeting in more on the once you're coming down, you know, and you can really help push with your front hand and also like really look where you want to go. So a lot of these solutions are the same for under rotating and over rotating, which sounds counterintuitive, but somehow it's not. You want to be looking where you want to go, so you're not looking too far over, and you're really focusing on coming in on that broad reach angle, right? And so do that where you're sailing back and forth, going as fast as you can on that angle off the wind, and know that that's where you need to be coming down for the back loop. All right, we've got a few more questions. We've got, I think, just a few more minutes. All right, so again, send me individual direct messages with your clips or your questions, and I'll answer them, and I can share them to help everyone else who's trying to learn, because a lot of people probably have the same issues that you're having.
Yeah. And also continue asking questions about like what was the best questions you have for front looping, back loops, front loops, your breakthroughs. So
yeah, send me your breakthroughs as well. Like, it's super great to get the questions, and I will answer all of them and share them, and it really helps me tailor these coaching sessions.
And probably make a clip, right? Like,
yeah, it helps again also to shape the clips that we're making. But then also send me your breakthroughs. So if you're looping, if you're a looper, tell me what helped you. If you had another breakthrough with wave sailing or something else, tell me what helped you. And we can share all this information in the community, and I'll keep improving together, which is great.
They're asking about the weight.
How much do I weigh? I'm about maybe like 85 kilos. My weight kind of changes quite a bit, depending on a lot of things, how much muscle I've got at the time, or fat at the time, and how much I'm training or doing other things, weight training or doing more endurance training.
How much you're involved in chocolate pepper.
But I'm between like 82 and 88 liters. So 82 liters is my go-to board, and then I have an 88 liter board that I'm very comfortable on. So I can ride the 88 liter in really light winds on a 5.5, but I'm also comfortable riding it on a 5.0.
I'm sometimes really impressed when you're pulling out the 82. I mean, you're really not a heavy guy, but you're doing so well on the 82, so you must have a great technique. I mean, obviously you have, but...
I love these, the 82 de curve, Taboo de curve is, I love this board. It's amazing. It's so fast, and so that really helps. Like if you're riding a bit of a smaller volume and you've got a fast board, it really helps to get going, but it still turns. So I really love the 82 curve.
Okay. Like I think we have a minute left or something.
All right, so thanks for tuning in. We're gonna keep doing this every Sunday, and if we get more and more people showing up, maybe we'll do this twice a week as well. And we're gonna keep releasing content. So ask me questions, tag me in your videos, or send me your videos, and we can go over them.
If you want to have a special guest here.
Yeah, if you want us to bring someone else on, or whatever you want, you know, this is for you, this is for the community. So we'll shape these live streams to what the community wants, and so give us all the feedback you can. And
quarantine studio.
Yeah, I hope you're enjoying your quarantine as best you can. I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy. Yeah, so follow me, tag me, and that will help us with all the feedback to make more of these work for you and for the community.
Hopefully it was helpful for you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in, right?
Thank you for tuning in. Aloha, and take care.